This is Jim Summers here, joined with Tim Harmon. Hello, Tim.
Hey, Jim.
Thank you all for joining us today. And just to reiterate what Karen just said about being social, if you could see the slide here, hopefully everybody can. At the bottom, you can see the hashtag channel choices. So while I will be presenting today, we will also be tweeting as well, so you can follow that conversation as well. So again, this is Jim Summers. I'm a CMO here at Relayware, and I'm joined here by Tim Harmon, who is VP of Customer Success. And Tim, you give a little bit of background on yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. So I've been with Relayware since the beginning of the year as a VP of Customer Success. So I'm chartered with making sure our customers are successful by providing them with the knowledge, tools, and resources and best practices around channel management. Prior to Relayware, I was an analyst with Forrester Research, where I led Forrester's channels research for 6 years. And I'd also previously held a number of marketing and channel development positions with various software companies like Cognos, Business Objects, and PlanView.
Great. Well, it's great to have you and great to have all of you on the phone as well. So why don't we jump into the agenda and what we're going to be covering today. So needless to say, we're going to be talking about partner portals today and the essentials and talking about many mistakes that we see in our day-to-day engagement with customers, partners, prospective customers. We're going to talk about how to avoid those mistakes. And then we're going to give some smart approaches, some best practices to get your portal even smarter. And then we're going to talk about, if you may have seen in our email or media alert about signing up for a free partner portal. And we'll talk about that towards the end of the presentation today and learn how you can sign up for getting your own free partner portal as well. And then at the end, we'll unmute you all and we'll have a little Q&A session as well. All right. So without further ado, let's just set it up for a moment here and talk broadly about partner portals. You know, in a lot of ways, partner portals are so important because they become the gateway into your partner program for your partners. It really, as that sort of fulcrum, everything kind of works off of that and levers off of that. And frequently what people think of initially when they think of partner portals is getting the marketing content. You know, sales collateral, research reports, data slicks, those types of things. But a real intelligent, best-in-class partner portal is so much more than that. And a number of things that you can see listing down here on the page. And, you know, Tim, what's your experience here when you talk to people about portals?
So I don't want to give the impression that marketing content and sales tools are not important to channel partners. Right. They are, and we're going to come back later, and we'll actually have data for you that shows just how valuable that marketing content and sales tools are. However, if your partner portal is only a marketing communications vehicle, that's all it does, you're going to find partner utilization of the portal pretty small. Again, we can come back with some statistics on that later, but I think the key, Jim, is to, while marketing content may be your first step in building a partner portal, you have to quickly wrap around a lot of the other business processes that you want to effect between you and your partners pretty quickly.
Right, exactly. And, you know, just building off of that, there is a mindset amongst many with the portal that, you know, they are great at first, but then they seem to quickly suffer from poor adoption and poor repeat usage. You know, Bob Fletcher here from the Channel Company has a fairly hyperbolic statement, but I think it makes this point, is that, you know, we are well past a decade of investment in portals, and the only thing we have to show for it is information that is hard to find, largely useless, so on and so forth. So again, a very strong statement from Bob here, but also one that is backed up, incidentally, by some data from Serious Decisions, who recently reported that up to 50% of portal content and functionality is being ignored by partners. You know, that's big. That's half. That's a big number. And a third, or almost a third, of partners visit a specific partner every month. So clearly there's a lot of factors at play here. I mean, it's not only, you know, the onus being and the burden on the vendors in making sure the content is constantly kept fresh and easy to use. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. The other, probably the more important thing, is that partners are just distracted. And they've got a lot of portals they're being asked to access. So really, you have to break through that clutter through a variety of different strategies to get them coming back and staying engaged.
You know, Jim, I think that's a key point that you just made. I hope people resonate to that. One of the design principles, I think, is in your partner portal is how fast. How fast can they consume content? How fast can they get to it? Or how fast can they transact a business process? Because their attention, channel partners have ADD, right?
Right.
Their attention span is off to another deal, another customer. That's where you want their attention to be.
Right.
Right. So the faster you can make it for partners to effect whatever business they want to do with you, I think the better.
I mean, it's not unlike correlating it to mobile apps, right? You know, which is why push notification services has become so important in such a fast-growing business, is because, listen, we've all downloaded scores, hundreds of apps, but you've got to constantly be reminded to come back to that application and visit it. And you have to think, it's almost thinking beyond the portal and driving and marketing people back to that portal constantly. So the features at a very high level of a high-performance portal really come down, we think, to three things. First, that it's personalized, right, and that you can't assume that a very broad-based portal that is being created for all of your partners is going to service all your partners and meet their individual needs. So there are ways, strategies, and technologies like Relayware that can help you with that. It also needs to be wrapped around the process, and it can't feel, you know, disjointed from the way they're already working and the way they expect to engage with you as an organization. So you need to make sure this portal is aligned to those processes, those best processes that you already have in place. And to our previous slide, it needs to be always on. You know, it's not just the portal itself. You know, you got to make sure that you're driving people there at all times, keeping it up to date, keeping it fresh, and keeping it always on. So we're going to revisit the slide towards the end and make some closing points after we go through our 10 points here, which we'll do now. So let's make this switch here to our common mistakes and how to avoid them. And let's start with something fairly fundamental first, just to get us warmed up. And I think I'm the right guy for that as the marketer, right? This goes for your website. It goes for any kind of web asset. You know, make sure it's just not text heavy. Time and time again, we see people kind of just loading up the partner portal with a lot of instruction and a lot of text, and as a result, the bounce rate for those pages is very high. So instead of showing partners where to find what they need and telling them through text what they need, really make sure you're making it both visually engaging and sticky, but also incredibly easy to navigate through and putting that content at the highest level. And you can see one of our customers, Xeris, has made a very beautiful upgrade from this portal here to this portal with some nice features, very large hero spot, visual graphics, and 3 windows here for some swim lanes to get to some content that they, through their analysis, have found is the most requested types of content.
And they're changing those swim lanes, right? So you see partner training, product announcements, and their wireless showcase. So they're constantly using the statistics they get from the Relayware software to know what their partners are downloading and consuming, what content and what, business processes are relevant to them. And so they're constantly changing those to accommodate what is in biggest demand by partners. And I wanted to point out, too, it's interesting that we use both Xeris as perhaps a not-so-best practice example, but when they employed their design folks on this, they jumped to the head of the pack in terms of having that wow factor of visualization and easy to navigate ability.
Yeah. So the other one here, and Tim, this is something that I know you and I talk about quite a bit, is too many passwords and requiring people to get to different systems through different types of passwords that can be, this point can be compounded to the fact that you're not just giving them multiple passwords for you, but they're memorizing and having to learn a lot of passwords for a lot of their vendors as well. So single sign-on becomes incredibly important, right?
It does. I can't tell you the number of, PRM or, partnering automation solutions, although I think that PRM is probably reflective of the past, partner relationship management, where those systems were cobbled together from a number of third-party applications. And cobbled together may be too strong a word. The result that I've seen in a lot of companies is that, partners have to log into, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'll give you at the upper end, they're logging into 20 or 30 different systems, all with different logins. And from my experience, this is with a prospective customer that we're talking with right now. I can tell you that one of their issues is that their partners have about 8 different systems they have to log into. As a result, those partners, they forget passwords, they spend too much of their time on the phone with the vendor support people. The vendor support people are spending too much time on the phone with partners just trying to resolve, low-end administrative issues. And the ultimate result of that is that a lot of partners just wind up abandoning the partner portal altogether.
Yeah. We talk about less support calls, right, and the cost associated with that. It can be daunting to many. So actually, we're going to come back a little bit later on and talk about support in the context of mobile. So stay tuned for that. Let's go to this here, and I mentioned Pembridge is a customer of ours. Pembridge is an Allstate company. And they had this issue of multiple usernames and passwords were necessary to access multiple systems. So what they ended up doing with Relayware is replacing 6 separate sets of credentials with one login through our technology. And as a result, within 3 months of going live, more than 60% of partners were using the portal more than one time per week, which was vastly improved from where they were. So it does have real financial impact on your business, and something really to think about as you're building requirements into your PRM solution. So let's go to number 3 here. Endless processes, and I think this, we talked about in the setup slide, making sure that one of the 3 attributes of a high-performance portal is aligning the process, but you want to make sure that you're not, creating one page that having them submit information, let's say for a business plan, that is just a scrolling and scrolling form. And you have to think about breaking that up into multiple different forms. But you also have to make sure the number of forms, if you do break it up, and at least let them know where they are, because they do get distracted. And if they drop off, they want to know that they come back and they're picking up where they left off. So, this particular example here shows just how much of the business process remains when they're submitting and registering a deal in this example, right, Tim?
Yeah, so this is a rather long involved business process that by design has been carved up into sub-processes, right, subtasks, if you will, or sub-activities. And as a result, and again, remember what we talked about, Jim, this premier design principle that you have to have in a partner portal is time, the partner's time. When we talked about them having ADD, customer ADD, which is a good thing. So if you do have a long process, how can you carve that up into sub-processes or discrete activities that then can be completed over a course of time in chunks by the partner? And I think that's what this represents, and again, represents quite well what this customer has done.
Right. So if you're in the market for automating your partner processes and so forth, make sure that you're asking this question when talking to companies. Obviously, since we're talking about it here, we provide this within Relayware, but it is something that causes enormous frustration if there is no state within the submission of information when they come back. Stale content, and this is, again, one of the more fundamental things, but it is so important, and we referenced this, again, earlier on in today's program, and making sure that you're constantly updating, creating, and curating the content appropriately, and facilitating any content that is created by your partners as well. One thing that Xeris does that you may or may not have noticed on the previous slide here is this latest news ticker here. And what they're doing is they're providing relevant news and information as it happens by syndicating external content and making it part of the partner portal. Again, showing that it's dynamic and adding additional timeliness to the portal.
Another thing too, Jim, over the course of my years, I've had the opportunity to meet and talk with a lot of brilliant channel professionals. I just have to share with you the story of one because I think it speaks to one of these points. One of the things that they did was the tech vendor got out of the customer case study business. What I mean by that is that they asked their channel partners to do customer case studies. And in fact, one of the incentives behind doing that was that it was one of the criteria that you would have to do in order to reach gold. You had to do a certain number of video customer case studies every year. And so it did it. Now the channel partners are doing all the customer case studies, and also as a result, the channel partners their utilization of that vendor's partner portal is very high, I can tell you. I'm not going to name the vendor, so I can tell you that it's up around 80%, because channel partners are very interested in what other channel partners are doing. So if a channel partners are putting the video case studies up on their partner portal and they're being curated to do that, believe me, the channel partners are doing that. And the other thing they did was they employed gamification techniques and tactics to, again, attract channel partners to see other channel partners' works.
They're naturally competitive.
They are.
Yeah. That's great. I'm going to take a little bit of a shot at marketing since I'm a marketer here. And I often joke with people when they refer to marketing, they all often use the word fluff, that marketing fluff or that marketing spin. But in all seriousness, we talked earlier about the list of things on I think the setup page about what a portal's supposed to do, and marketing was top of that list because that's what frequently people think about. And it is important, as Tim said. But what about other things like detailed sales and technical tools that people need to close the deals? And, the portal, as it says here, needs to enable partner self-service throughout that entire life cycle and provide these attributes that you can see on this slide to align around the business processes.
Yeah, I am going to use a vendor example here, Microsoft. Microsoft took as one of their design principles not only the limited time that channel partners have, but they also took the perspective of 100% self-service, right? So they identified all of the interactions and engagement activities between Microsoft and Microsoft's partners, and ultimately built out a partner portal and a partnering automation solution that encompasses all of those things. So not only marketing, like you said, and by the way, I'm not going to characterize marketing as fluff, and like I said, later we'll show you some data about how valuable it really is when it's surrounded or embellished by the other business processes and interactions that channel partners engage with you on. And you can see kind of a stage support here of those functions and activities. We'll actually give you a prescription here in the next slide for how you might build out your capabilities. But also you need to consider that all of these applications, all of them, have to be personalized, have to be maintained in terms of having fresh content and relevant content, aesthetically pleasing, We've seen some examples like from Xeris that really took that as a principle. Easy to navigate, easy to find, because once you put all of these capabilities into your partner portal or you're delivering through their partner portal, if not designed well, it can actually become complex and confusing, which is what you don't want. And then to deliver the business intelligence behind all of these capabilities as well.
So this kind of builds it out, right? And frequently it is starting with things like onboarding and the marketing piece.
It is, and I think that's where most companies start, and it's where they should start, right, in terms of building out a partner portal. So, you know, marketing, we've talked a lot about marketing content, but it's got to be relative marketing content. And by the way, there's a way to determine in Relayware what marketing content is viable and valuable to the partners, right? So you should be using those sorts of measuring tools to understand what content is resonating with your partners.
But as we go to stage 2 and become much more capable, right?
Yeah, and then I think, again, where we're starting, then we start to see enablement and training. So I just talked with a prospective customer last week who does all of their training in-house, live training, which is fine, except that as you scale, that can break, right? I mean, if you've got 50 partners or 100 partners, maybe you can do all your training in-house live. You've got 1,000 or 10,000, you're going to need to go to some sort of online mechanism, right?
And then things like support and delivery, and, you know, it's amazing in some of the research that we see back how important support really is and often forgot about in a lot of cases when we're talking to customers for the first time.
It's interesting. I always talk about off-customer and on-customer applications, or off-premise and on-premise, if you want to think of it that way. There's applications or capabilities that partners need from you when they're at a customer site, which are different, and they have a different demand factor to them than when they're not at a customer site, when they're back in their own offices. When they're in their offices, they do have the time. There's no one looking over their shoulder. When they're at a customer site, that's where delivery and support are paramount, and they need a different capability. I think you'll articulate how this shows up in the mobile demand later. But you know, it's a different sort of application, and one that I think requires even more attention to that time deficit disorder.
Well, I mean, there's sales-oriented partners that you have, and then there's also service-oriented partners. And, you know, there's obviously you want to get people to register their deals, but you also want to disseminate out support tickets and distribute those out and get status on those as well, which happens through this portal.
It would. I think we're seeing more and more companies that are going to a distributed support model where the support ticket is virtually handed off between the partner and the tech vendor on a near real-time basis.
Right, right. Okay, number 6, common mistakes, one-way communications. You know, partner communications should not be a one-way monologue and sort of, you know, from on high to the various partners. And having a system in place that allows much more of a collaborative environment is so important right now. And it's not just, you know, allowing a feedback loop from the partner back to the vendor, but allowing partners to communicate with other partners and collaborate with each other is also critical and often forgotten about when you're looking for a solution.
I think it is forgotten about. You know, it's interesting, though. I'll harken back again to Microsoft. So Microsoft's partner conference, the WPC, their Worldwide Partner Conference, there's as much or more interaction between the partners than there is between the partners in Microsoft. And when you talk to partners, that's what they find valuable, is connecting with and collaborating with other partners. And you may think, I think the premise that a lot of people kind of jump to initially is that partners are competitive and they don't want to talk with each other or connect with each other. But it becomes more obvious now in the day and age that we're in, where we're seeing RFPs and RFIs that are being jointly bid on. And partners are wanting to seek out other partners with skills that actually complement those. I'll give you one very specific example. I would say the vast majority of channel partners companies today are really well versed in marketing and selling to the IT organization. But what has cloud computing done? Well, cloud computing has swung the decision-making over to the line of business, the business decision-maker. And unfortunately, a lot of channel partner companies are not very well versed in selling to the line of business or the business decision-maker. So what they can do and what they want to do and what they should do is be able to seek out partners who do have that sort of competency so that they can leverage each other, because the IT value doesn't go away in cloud computing, but it certainly needs to be enhanced by a lot of business skills that a particular partner may not have.
Right. So how can they get in touch with each other? I mean, there's a couple of ways, right? One of this is through something as simple as a locator tool, but sometimes it's not that simple.
Well, I think that's the first step, and we're going to, give you some other ways that they can communicate. But the first step is finding those other channel partners that are relevant to you. So partner locators, which are very popular today, are utilized not just by customers to find partners, they're used by partners to find other partners, again, with complementary skills. Now, what you can do in a Relayware partner locator as well, so for customers, you can say, a contact me button, and that lead automatically gets generated to the partner, right? But you can also add a contact me button for partners that will automatically put a invitation request out to that partner that there's another partner that wants to talk to you about a specific deal or collaborating on a specific solution.
Yeah, and like you said, we'll talk in a little bit about other ways beyond the partner locator. Number 7, one size doesn't fit all. Delivering the same content to every partner wastes their time and limits the portal's value. Going back to the point about single sign-on, the other benefit of single sign-on is having it tie back to a profile database within Relayware that understands not, just who the partner is at a company level, but who the various partner employees are. What language do they speak? What country are they in? What's their status? What's their tier? What part of the organization are they in?
Yeah, so we in our partner system of record, we capture information not only at the partner company level, but at the partner employee level, right? So that you can really become very targeted and focused in communicating with, the partner's individual employees based on their role. They might be sales, technical, marketing, business consulting, but the other attributes that you captured that you talked about as well, Jim.
Yeah, and you can see here within Relayware, you have the ability to select the types of content in the communications manager that is relevant to the particular type of user, depending on their geography, and these are just a couple examples, their tier, and so forth. But the last point here at the bottom is also an interesting point, because within Relayware, you have the ability to collaboratively build your business plan between partner and vendor. And that business plan gives you sort of future insight on how to tailor communications to them.
Yeah, let me give you an example. I'll go back to cloud computing, since that's the current rage in the IT industry, I think, as we all know. Your partner in the collaborative business plan, like Jim talked about, might indicate that in the third quarter they're going to send 8 people through your cloud training. Well, that may indicate that you want to start targeting cloud-relevant content and cloud-specific communications to those partners. And it's not based on their past activities or performance. It's based on what they're going to do in the very near future that you can pick up automatically, again, from the business plan tool.
Right. Great point. Okay, number 8, local mindset, and this is a build off of the previous point. It's just making sure that you are providing the support for that individual, depending upon what country they're in and what language they speak and so forth. This is somewhat of, table stakes in a lot of sense, but you'd be surprised within certain types of solutions out there in the market how this capability is actually not that deep. And what I mean by that, just to sort of name names here, Salesforce.com, Tim, why don't you explain what you were explaining earlier to me?
Well, they certainly have the capability, but I think their pricing model in some ways can limit the multi-language delivery of your content communications. So you know, their partner licenses can be pretty expensive, and what happens a lot of times is that tech vendors will only purchase one license for each partner company. Right? So that means if you have a partner company in Europe that's spread across Europe, they may be, you know, they may be communicating in 5 different languages. But because they only have one license, they're only having content delivered through the portal and communications delivered through the portal in one language, right? So, you know, in this case, I think it's the license model and the price and the associated pricing, which is the limited factor.
Okay, 2 more here. Number 9, partners may have suggestions to improve your portal, but you have no way of hearing them. So how within your portal are you thinking about building a feedback loop, not just between, as we said earlier, between you and them, but also with each other? You know, what kinds of capabilities? I mean, I think to get the feedback on the portal, you can put things in there like mini polls. You can see, you know, star ratings and get some blog post responses for certain things, but also enabling them to talk to each other through discussion groups and having that capability. As you can see here, we enable that within Relayware, a much more collaborative system environment for partners to communicate with other partners, and that you have, as the vendor, the ability to see that conversation happening and be involved in it and also monitor it to get that learning to improve your portal as well.
Hey, Jim, what types of content have you seen that star ratings are most relevant to or valuable to be in support of?
I mean, my experience has been primarily training and seeing the training and saying, yeah, this one really helped me a lot, or if you did this, it could be a lot better if you provided it through mobile or something else. Certain, you know, maybe the test questions are too similar with each other, right? Or, you know, so those types of things I've seen.
So you're training courseware and marketing content as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a marketer, I love seeing people comment on what they like and what they don't like within certain pieces of content and how to package it.
So if you go back to that data that you presented right at the beginning from Serious Decisions, that only 50% of content is being utilized or consumed by partners, if you were to apply the star rating capability of Relayware, you'd actually have a lot greater insight of what content is resonating and is relevant to the partners.
Yeah, I think so. And I think even that's their data, and that's credible data, but we've even seen you know, numbers that can be in some instances lower than that.
Yeah. So let your partners, you know, rate the content and communications that you're putting out there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, the last one here, no mobile. We're actually in the market right now fielding some partner research, what I mean by that, just to be very clear, is we're asking several hundred end-user partner organizations their feelings and their frustrations, their likes and dislikes about how they engage with their vendor organizations. And one of the early returns we're seeing here is that 26% of partners surveyed stated they would engage more if mobile was provided as a channel. And in other words, the portal was delivered multi-channel, not just the desktop, but also on tablets and iPhones and smartphones. So we went on to ask the question, what types of content would you like to see in priority order through mobile? And going back to our discussion earlier around support, support was number 1. I was a little surprised. Tim, you weren't as surprised as I was, but I would think that marketing would be very high up there. But when you think of somebody in the field, outside their office, they're stuck, they're talking to a customer, they need help. Or the number 2, they need to configure, price, and quote in the field as well. And some of the things that I thought would be higher, like deal reg and distribution, were lower on the list.
Things that they actually might be doing back at their office, but to your point, Jim, when they're in the field at a customer site, they don't have their laptops or PCs with them. They do have their mobile devices, and so they need that on-demand, near real-time capability for support and configure, price, quote capability. You know, I want to go back to your stat on the previous slide. 26% partners, more partners would engage with you if you provided a mobile capability that is equal to your website portal. Now you may think that should be higher, but let me give you some context. If your partner's portal utilization today is 10% or 20%, adding 26% more is huge.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about an order of magnitude more.
Right.
Right? So that's, I think, the proper context to think of that particular data point in.
Yeah, I mean, that's the operative word, which is why I put it in all caps here. It's they would engage more.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just that 26% said that they would use mobile, is that they would engage more, which is a very important point. The other important point here, too, is that, you know, Relayware is one of the few, if not the only. You know, Salesforce does provide a level of mobile capability as well, but, you know, we provide the full suite of partnering capabilities, management capabilities through our mobile solution. Multi-device, multi-OS, multi-client. And what I mean by multi-client, if you're not familiar with that term, is that you can have a native application. So our partner app, mobile app, is available for download from the app stores, but it's also responsive, right? So it will be able to adapt depending on what device you're using for that particular device and the class of device that you're using there to make sure the experience is a good one. All right, so let's just wrap up here and talk a little bit about, you know, coming back to the slide, we talked about the features of a high-performance portal. And hopefully, as you've seen, we've talked about these 3 basic categories that are kind of weaved and stitched through the 10 points we made previously. But to turn this around and go the other direction, you know, what you get out of a high-performance portal is also incredibly important as an organization, not just you, but maybe your peers in other parts of the group, whether it's the financial group, management, marketing, sales, better business intelligence. You know, you're collecting and amassing very robust data that can be captured and analyzed and used to refine not just your partner program, but also other areas of the business. Also lower TCO as well. So if you're really optimizing this portal and making it as performant as possible and doing the things that we've talked about, you will see your TCO go down and being much more efficient through much better automation of your processes. And then ultimately, we're all here to make sure that your partners are as productive and efficient as possible. So getting them more engaged means getting them more loyal and getting them thinking of you first before your competitors and increasing productivity and increasing sales.
You know, Jim, I have to, I'll share another customer story here with you, Lenovo. Lenovo, I think, is one of the more brilliant channel companies, you know, in the tech industry. And as a lot of you probably already know, that Lenovo became, you know, the #1 supplier of PCs and laptops in the not-so-distant past. And their trajectory is looking really good. So I want to point out the 2 top vectors that you referenced, business intelligence and partner productivity. What they did early on was to use business intelligence or business intelligence tooling and capabilities to identify the partners that were engaging the most with Lenovo and in what ways they were engaging. And then they correlated that to the partners that were actually generating the most revenue. Mm-hmm. And they found all the various correlations, and so they could predict which partners by their engagement attributes were going to be the most productive. And they built their training and enablement and reward system around those engagement styles or engagement metrics. I thought it was brilliant.
Well, that's fascinating. Yeah, they're certainly, they've been doing this for a while, and they're constantly learning and improving. Absolutely. So, you know, let's just build these out here and talk about some objections that, you know, we frequently hear about, you know, underperforming portals and what you can do to make it performant. So, you know, one of the objections is, geez, you know, the partners these days are just dealing with too many vendors overall. You know, how can we break through that clutter? And I think the answer there is the more you can personalize it, whether it's by geography, what group they're in, what their latest behavior indicates that they're interested in, is only going to get them more engaged. And trying to drive them constantly back to the portal is critical. making sure that it's not just a place to get collateral and content, but enabling the entire business process lifecycle. And as some of our data has shown, support, which is frequently thought of at the sort of the caboose of the process, needs to be thought of more as the engine for certain types of partners. So think of what's relevant to what partners and how you dial up and throttle down accordingly. Portal's boring, generic, and hard to navigate. You need to align with other parts of your organization, whether it's marketing or the digital group, and getting help there to drive new information, using new technologies to drive people back to that portal, and constantly updating it and thinking like Xeris did about, all right, we're pretty happy with the portal today, but what can we do tomorrow to make it even better? And portals are stovepiped and difficult to use. And think about single sign-on and how you can leverage automation like Relayware to improve that experience, and having one single sign-on that gives them access to a lot of different parts of the applications, whether it's Relayware, our applications, or maybe a partner application that you're using from another provider, like an incentives company, like a CCI, you may be using them. How can we sign on through Relayware and get them over to maybe that other system that you need them to? And not to spend a whole lot of time on this, but people say, all right, well, there are other options, right? If I'm thinking primarily about content, why can't I use a CMS system as a portal? Why do I need your system, which is very robust, when all I need to do right now is collateral in portal content? And you can look down these attributes here, right, Tim, and look at the different things that a CMS will provide versus what a portal will provide.
So a partner portal is a website, right?
Yeah.
But a partner portal is much more than just a website, which is all you're going to get out of a generic content management system software. A partner portal has to have all that under the covers intelligence and system of record information about the partner portals to make sure that you're delivering the right content, the right communications, the right business processes, the right training to the right partners at the right time. Can you do that with the content management system? Yes, you can, but it'll be 10% software, 90% customization in order to be able to get there.
Right. And we want to keep that customization, obviously, to a minimum there, because that's, well, don't want this to be a resource burden for companies. It's supposed to help the processes. So that wraps up the discussion for today, and we're going to open up to questions in a moment here. So now's the time. If you have any questions for us, by all means, please type them into the chat window there, the question window within WebEx. But as we talked about up front, and as you may have seen in the marketing for this event, we are offering a free portal for prospective customers here, and people who are looking to test some of this additional functionality that we've talked about today and to take it to the next level. And what we like to provide for all of you is the ability to apply for that free partner portal. Now, to do so, you can go to this URL, www.partnercloud.com, where you can fill in your name, first name, last name, and email address, and we'll have somebody reach out to you right away. Before you do that, if you have any questions before you sign up for it, you can always email us at research@relayware.com, and we'll have that conversation offline if you have any questions about your free portal. But what we're offering with this, the features, is things like registration and approvals, right? So the basic ability through the portal to allow your partners to register and you to approve those partners as they come in. We talked a lot about single sign-on capability and making that available as a feature as well. Recruitment and onboarding of your partners, providing a dynamic content library, mobile optimization and the responsive design that we talked about, not a native app, but having a portal that is responsive and can be used on different types of mobile devices, and also the ability to do some self-administration as well within this free portal. So, this is an offer for all of you for joining us today, and we'd love to take you up on it. So please challenge us, sign up, ask us, and we'd love to talk to you more about this offer. And just in general, when we talk about this portal, it is really the window into your whole partner program. And it's not just something that is pushed from top down, but is a system of automation and collaboration with your partners, incredibly valuable. So with that, we're going to open up and wrap up with a question or two, since we have a little time left. Karen, are you there?
I am, Jim. We have one question here which I think will suit Tim down to the ground. That's a nice English expression for you. It says, in your experience, do you have an idea of the average partner's utilization of partner portals?
Yes, and we, at the beginning, towards the beginning of the presentation, I think we quoted some data from Serious Decisions of, partner portal utilization being less than 30%. In my experience, even that number is generous. So what I saw, for example, late last year was that, even going back, that partner portal utilization on a month-by-month basis was in the mid to high teens, and it was dropping. So I don't know if this is necessarily across the industry, but some tech vendors were experiencing partner utilization in the low teens. And when you get down that low, you're investing a lot of money in something that's not really being utilized effectively or appropriately. There are other questions, Karen?
Yeah, we do. We have one more. And Jim, can I push this one to you? Are we able to speak with customers of yours to hear their best practices, please?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think it's one thing to hear it from Tim and I. We obviously have a bias here. We think we have the best partnering automation solution available, but we have shown some customers of ours. We've talked about Lenovo, Xeris, and Pembridge, and others. And I know sometimes you like to talk to peers. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that. If you like to speak with any of our customers about what they've learned through the implementation of their high-performance partner portal, we'd be happy to broker that conversation. I'm trying to think, probably the best way of doing that is this email address again, research@relayware.com, and let us know, and we'll be happy to put you in touch with somebody. So I think with that, we wanted to keep this under 45 minutes. We're a little bit over there, but thank you for the questions, and thank you all for joining us today. And please come back often and to our website, and we have a lot of different webinars available for on-demand webcasts that you can listen to on our website. And to that point, we will make this available if you'd like to listen to it again or share it with anybody. You'll get an email probably from us tomorrow offering the webcast replay of today's webinar. And of course, the white papers are also available on the partner portal on our website. So thank you all for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to talking to you soon. Take care.